Hello everyone, this is Sarah from the Kahani Suno with Kabir and Sarah podcast. कैसे हैं आप लोग आज? Once again, I bring to you another story of mine. This story is titled The Loner. I wrote this, I think in 2011. But recently, I came across an article about this woman called Tara Dower who ran 2,190 miles to conquer the Appalachian Trail and became the fastest human ever to do it. She was averaging about 54 miles a day and sleeping only 90 minutes a night. This Appalachian Trail stretches across 14 states in the United States with 464,500 feet of elevation, gained the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest 16 times. She bet the record at 37 years old. She did it in about 40 days, 18 hours, and 5 minutes. As I said before, she averaged 54 miles per day, climbed nearly 500,000 feet, and slept barely more than an hour each night. Can you imagine what it must have taken her to go through these for 40 days, being on her own, running across mountains with blisters in her feet? So this story of Tara Dower brought me back to the story I had wrote all those years ago along the same lines. As I said, it is titled The Loner. So without further ado, let's get on with the story. The Loner. A loner, that's what I have been termed all my life. I guess it's not such a bad thing to be termed one, especially if the other terms used to describe you have been titles like weirdo, wacko, psycho, retard, etc. and etc. Yes, I have been referred to with all these colorful adjectives at one stage of my life or the other, but the one that has stuck with me has always been the loner. She's such a loner, I have heard in hushed tones. You're a loner, aren't you? Some people have been more direct to me. Why are you such a loner? I've heard the frustration a few times. How can you be such a loner? Fascination, maybe? The list goes on, and I go on being a loner. I don't know how it all started. I guess it has been with me all along. My mother tells me that I was the easiest of babies to handle, that I never cried for attention. She wanted me to cry, wanted me to reach out to her, to fulfill her motherly obligations of tending to her needy child. I just never did. The only time I had cried had been when I would be physically hurting, but apparently never for wanting someone to look after me. That seemed to have irked my mom no end. She wanted to complain about her vocal girl who needed her mom every second, just like all her friends did, but she did not know how. She did not know what constituted a wailing baby looking for someone to pick them up. She had to do with me, a calm and content baby, content in my own little baby world, wanting to play on my own, happy with whatever situation I found myself in. You're such a loner, my mom would sigh and repeat, for I am sure the 100,000th time at least if I had been counting. Of course, I do not remember any of these things that she tells me, so I can't necessarily put my views across on how my mind used to function at that point in time. But I can sure do that now, and that is the point of this story, to give the world an insider's view of a loner's life. A loner's world. My world. The first time I realized that I was drastically different from any kid around me was when I went to one of my classmates' 8th birthday party. I don't remember his name right now, but I do remember that my mother had insisted that I should go. I had never been invited anywhere before, thankfully, so this kind of situation had not presented itself before to me. But this time around, there was a difference. The whole class had gotten the invitation, and I had grudgingly accepted the invitation that was thrust into my hands. I had destroyed it as soon as I could get home, but Ryan's mom had called my mom personally to invite me. My mom was all excited. She made such a big fuss. I was not even sure I would last through it. She took me shopping to buy something exquisite for Ryan. What does he like? What does he play with? Did he tell you what he might want for his birthday? The questions just barged one after the other. I do not know who I hated at that moment more, my mom or this Mrs. Ryan. I would be sitting on my bed right now, curled up like a ball and having fun being with myself. Instead, I was being dragged down through all these brightly colored stores, looking to find that elusive, perfect gift that would make Ryan go woohoo for a few seconds. Yes, I decided it was Ryan who was to blame. I did not even wish him happy birthday that night and just sat by myself on the bench, looking at my shoes, the ones that my mom had gotten for me that day as a way to brighten up my mood. It had gotten even worse because I was comfortable in my older ones. They seemed to have gotten used to the shape of my feet so snugly. The new ones were too loose and I did not like the design either. Do you want a piece of cake? I looked up to see a smiling Mrs. Ryan holding a plate of ginormous piece of cake. I shook my head. You want anything else, sweetie? She asked with that silly grin adorning her perfectly made up, well, admittedly pretty face, I should say. Yes, I murmured. Yes, she encouraged me. Leave me alone, I spat out. That wiped the silly grin off her face and gave way to an even sillier expression of shock. She didn't look so pretty after all. Did you have a good time, darling? My mom asked me, hoping against hope. No, I said defiantly. She sank in the chair. Mrs. Ryan called my mom to see if everything had been all right. Ryan loves the gift you got him, she told her. Oh, thank you. Your daughter, on the other hand, seemed to be in a bad mood. I hope she's not sick or something. Thank you. No, she's not. Oh, is that the way that she is? Yes, that is exactly the way she is. A loner, huh? A loner, yes. That's the first time I heard the word, a word that has come to stick with me throughout my life. My mom had tried her best to make sense of what was happening with her daughter. She tried to determine what the underlying reason could be for me to be wanting on my own all the time. More than concern or anything else for me, it was an exercise on her part to make sure that she was not responsible for who I had become. Was it because my dad had left us that I had insisted on not talking to anyone? Was it possible that she might be a bitter single mom and so I had retreated into my shell? Was it because I was embarrassed of her that I refused to go anywhere with her? Was it because I was an only child that I never mingled with anyone? Was it because of this? What is because of that? The list was endless. I would listen to the items on the list time and again when she'd get miserable, thinking that I was miserable and would start lamenting on what she would have done wrong to deserve this. I would just stare vacantly in space, and that would infuriate her more, and the list would get longer by a few items. Invariably, it would end in her tears and with me walking out, not because I was uncomfortable in any way that she was crying, but mostly because I would need a drink or would need to use the bathroom. Years later, when she fell extremely sick, she apologized to me. I gave her the vacant stare again, and she fell back sobbing. What have I ever done to you? She managed between the sobs. Nothing, Mom, I replied. She stopped sobbing and looked at me incredulously. That was the first ever time I'd acknowledged her question, which had been hurled at me in various formats almost every day. Then why? It's who I am, Mom, and it has got nothing to do with you. She sighed, she fell back. I have never heard her repeat the drama ever again. She died a few days later. When you're around someone for so long, almost all your life, you tend to start missing having them around. At least that is what I was led to believe, even if you never really loved or got along with them. I waited for that feeling to hit me. It never did. I looked around the apartment we had shared for so many years. I forced myself to look at the chair she would sit on and listen to classical music. I don't know what feeling I saw, but it was definitely not the one that came over me. A surge of relief that I no longer had to be around her brooding presence. I was glad she was gone. I was glad to be by myself. Finally. Be a loner in my own home. After the party at the Ryan's, my mom had a grand idea, that of throwing a party of our own. I was just 9 at that time, so though I tried my hardest to avert the crisis, she heard nothing of it and put me through the torture of greeting a dozen kids accompanied by their parents. My head was spinning as she made me thank each one of them when they were leaving. I almost passed out, but she held me strong. I never forgave her for that. She never did it to me again. She stopped trying after I threw up all over the floor that day. There was this girl at school, an ugly, gawky-looking thing. Since no one seemed to be interested in being her friend, she turned her attention towards me, the only other friendless girl around. She was a stubborn little thing if there was one, and was quite intent on becoming my best friend, as she put it. I punched her in the face when she said that. She was back the next day with a band-aid on her nose, grinning, showing her uneven teeth. Well, if not best friends, we could be friends. I punched her in the same spot again. She did not bother me after that. But I had to pay the price for my aggression. From being a mousy little thing who minded her own business, I had morphed into a variety of different things. Some said I was a witch. Some said I was abused. Some said I was a psycho. Some even said I had murdered my dad when I was 3. I didn't care. Whatever the reason, they left me alone, and that is what mattered. I was free of the constant fun they would poke at me. If I had only known, I would have punched someone way earlier. One thing I learned very early in life is that you control how you want your life to be. True, destiny plays a part, but if you are disciplined about what you want and never swerve out of the way, you will get it. As I cooked dinner that day, that is exactly how I felt. I watched the omelette puff up all bright red and yellow. I did not like the green stuff in it, and so there was no green stuff in it. This is how I wanted my life to be. Just the way I wanted it to be, not the way someone else wanted it to be like. No one ever quite understood that. I was always treated like an abnormal person who had issues. No one could ever understand that it was the way I wanted things to be, that I loved being on my own, that being around other people tired the hell out of me, so much so that I was paranoid about being around people. They bored me no end with their oh so cute and happy lives, or I can't survive with or without my spouse lives, or my kids are so smart lives. It seemed like an endless cycle. I would think I could categorize people into 4 and 5 categories, and almost everyone would fit into one of these. Pretty mindless to be involved in the same vicious, never-ending drama of other people's lives. Instead, I preferred to be on my own, do what interested me, not do what did not interest me, and for that, I was labeled a loner. I didn't mind as long as the loner was left alone. Though I would have been happy had I belonged to the caveman era, wherein you could go into a cave and live there, which I long to do even now, the reality was much different. And I could not pay attention to it for long. I had to make a life of my own. Passing school had been like walking on cake. The colorful stories that were touted as facts by those around me made life that much more interesting. I could be happy and secure in the knowledge that I was not as bad as they wanted me to be, just more so. Want to get a coffee? I looked up from the book. This was the reason I had wanted to check out the book, but the librarian had quoted some stupid rule that did not allow me to take the book home. So I had reluctantly settled in clutching the book. The thing I hate about libraries are that they seem more like a place for hospital records of dead patients rather than anything else. I would maybe spend not more than 10 minutes in checking out books and would be out of there in a flash. But then it was a question of the book that I had wanted to read for ages. I could not do that. So I sat there against my better judgment and started reading. As I had expected, I was interrupted. When I looked up, I saw the most beautiful brown eyes smiling at me. "Coffee?" he asked. Yes, you could call those eyes coffee too. For the first time in my life, I did not feel like punching the daylights out of someone who seemed to want my company. Maybe I was too hard on him. Maybe, I thought as I drove back to my nest. I was surprised that I was thinking about someone after about 15 minutes of meeting them. Generally, it takes me about 2 minutes to wipe away all the unpleasantness associated with interacting with someone. No, I had answered tersely to his coffee question. I saw his jaw drop. Don't think he was used to being rejected. So devastatingly good-looking was he. Yes, his good looks did affect me for like 35 seconds. The yes had almost slipped out in those 34 seconds before I willed myself to say a no in the 35th second. It had taken all my willpower, but I was sure I had done something that was not done to this Greek god ever. I wondered what had attracted him to me. I was easily not one of the best looking of the female species. In fact, if I could rate myself, I would hover myself in the area of less than average to plain ugly with emphasis on the later. My mother had lamented more than once on my looks, or rather the lack of them, and had even attributed it to my being a loner. I would say it was a classic case of giving credit more than where it is due. I paid no attention to how I looked, frankly. As long as I was not wearing torn clothes and did not smell like I had just stepped out of the gutter, I was fine. In fact, I loved being plain. It removed a lot of fuss around me. I could walk in the middle of the road and be virtually unnoticeable. That was exactly how I had wanted my life to be, void of any distractions. As was usual, I had not ever denied nor confirmed my mom's expert analysis of my situation. I closed the book I had been intently poring on. If only that damn librarian had allowed me to check that book out, I would have been spared of this torture. Damn. If only that man had left me alone for a few more minutes, my research would have been done and I would have been sleeping peacefully like a baby. I loathed him, and that was the beginning and end of my love story. It lasted just a couple of hours. Enough to jolt me a little, but satisfied that I had passed an unexpected test of my innate character. That marked the beginning of another love story, one where I loved myself and who I was. The best love story of all because you can control it and you have power over you. It boggles my mind how an individual can not only transfer the power over self to another individual so easily, but also fall head over heels in doing that. The only other time my mom had incited more than a dull stare in a direction from me was when she wondered about my marriage. Her opinion was that all good girls get married. All the self-content smugness in her vanished when I retorted back with, "Well, Ma, I'm not a good girl." The subject of marriage was never brought up again. Yes, I had a knack of making life give me what I wanted. No wonder I was so in love with myself. This knack not only made me kind of a narcissistic person, but also had other effects on my life. Love, and I don't just mean the romantic kind of love, binds you, it enslaves you, and effectively eats away at your roots, slowly but surely erodes your individuality. Consciously and or unconsciously, you tend to behave in a certain way that impresses the one that you love. You're a different person when you're with your mom, a different person with your lover, a completely different one with your friends, and most certainly act like a donkey with your kids because they can't stay true to your emotions and ambitions. If you do, then you're termed a selfish person who cannot see beyond oneself, who does not care about anyone else. Blah, blah, and more blah, blah, blah. I don't understand the logic in not being the number one person in your own life. The whole play of a guilty conscience comes into the picture. And if not the relationship, then this tumult with oneself will steamroll one into submission, to act according to the norms of the society, to take care of loved ones more than you would take care of yourself. I have seen this happen with people around me who gradually lose their focus, and a person who once held a lot of promise just withers away in the face of these emotional connections. To me, they bring nothing but ruin to oneself. And since I've already established the fact that I love myself, I have stayed away from these banalities called relationships all my life. I have and still scoff at people who have questioned the purpose of my existence. What does she get out of life being all by herself? Who is there to celebrate her successes and who is there to share her joys and sorrows? How could such a loner be happy? While I welcome their concern not, I would love to sock their concerned jaws with a blow that would wipe away all their silly poking into other people's lives. But to answer them, I would say, nothing gives me more satisfaction than overcoming an obstacle all by myself. Even if I did not, I could just get up and try again or give up or do whatever I chose to. I definitely don't need someone to pick me up, goad me to go on, and then watch me fail or succeed. I'd rather fall, get up myself, and do whatever I feel like doing, not do it for the sake of someone who needs me to stay strong. I don't want to give anyone the satisfaction of sharing my successes. They are all mine, and I'm mighty proud of them. So also my failures. I can't blame anyone except myself, and that makes me try harder to overcome them. I looked down from my book, the questionnaire. I'd completely forgotten about it. I had refused the interview, so they had sent me this form. Apparently, it was mandatory. I looked at the questions and started jotting the answers down. How does it feel to be running for the position of the most powerful person in the world? The President of the United States, and the first woman at that. Pretty good, I jotted down. Are you confident you're going to win? Yes. Being on top sometimes can be lonely. How does it feel up there? Awesome. You're accused of being a loner, are you? Yes. Who or what do you attribute your success to? Me being a loner. I switched off the TV. It isn't fun to watch myself being flanked by almost every important personality in the world. No matter who you're surrounded by, it's pretty nauseating to be in the midst of so many people. I was happy I was finally alone after the flurry of day's activities. Finally, I was allowed to be myself, a loner. Thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please do let me know what you think of it. As usual, Sarah@kahanisuno.com. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you.